10,000 steps. That's how many steps most health professionals recommend you do to maintain a healthy lifestyle. So naturally, I decided I was going to try and do 100,000 steps because, yeah, it might be 10 times as hard, but surely that would make me 10 times as healthy. This one's going to suck. The challenge started way earlier than any civilized human should be awake.
Even the petrol station isn't open yet.
But it felt good to be getting those early steps in hours before most people wake up.
There's something quite satisfying about knowing that I'm up, I'm out, and I'm doing something before most people's day has even thought about starting.
I started the day feeling pretty strong. I was making the most of my surroundings, and before too long the sun started coming up.
So we have passed over 10,000 steps already. I know that because my Fitbit just did a little bit of a song and dance when I reached that, saying I've done my daily target. It's not even 20 to 6 yet. I've walked over 7.5 kilometers, but perhaps more worryingly, I've already burnt well over 1,000 calories, but I don't think I actually consumed enough calories when I did this challenge last time.
Now seems a good time to mention that a few years ago I tried a similar challenge with my wife Charlie. We challenged ourselves to see how many steps we could do in a day, but halfway through the challenge my body completely shut down. I did eventually manage to drag myself out and get just over 78,000 steps, but the biggest thing I learned from that experience was the importance of diet. We didn't eat enough that day, and what we did eat was crap, so if I had any chance of getting 100,000 steps, I needed to get my food right.
So this time I packed a load of bananas. Charlie made me a load of flapjack. I've already had a banana and a flapjack, but I'm going to have a second flapjack now because I think the big struggle today is going to be keeping my calorie intake up whilst on the move. Come on then.
And off I went with my perfected technique of putting one foot in front of the other. I was clearly born to step because I was stepping like a pro, and I stepped my way right onto a golf course.
Just got to make sure I don't get twatted by any wayward balls. Do I have to run across this golf green to make sure I don't get hit? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. It's little Sebastian. If that's not a good omen for the day, I do not know what is.
Spirits were high at this point as I smashed through 20,000 steps and ate the fruit you're not supposed to eat on camera before these heavenly clouds made this shot of me walking through a field look awesome.
Look at all this wheat. We're gonna have to do a dramatic camera through the wheat shot, aren't we? Military firing range, keep out. I mean, earlier I was worrying about golf balls and now I'm worrying about actual bullets. Do I need to run again?
As I continued walking, signs of civilization became more apparent until I found myself in town with over 30,000 steps under my belt and over 3,000 calories burned. So I headed into a Costa for my first real break of the day.
That break was severely needed, not so much for the food, but more for the opportunity to take the weight off my feet. I genuinely feel quite revitalised after that, and my legs don't feel half as tired as they did, but I'm guessing now the gaps between breaks can't be as long as that first one. That's probably the biggest chunk of walking we're going to do today.
The steps kept coming, and as I pushed past 40,000 steps, I started thinking about why I was doing this challenge. Had I not set the challenge, I no doubt would have stopped walking already, which got me thinking about how important it can be to have a goal.
With a goal, you push yourself a lot further than I think you normally would. And I wanted to test that theory today. I wanted to see if I could get to 100,000 steps. Also, when I got to nearly 80,000 before, I thought to myself, 100,000 seems doable. I've been joined by a dog. Hello. A big part of why I'm doing this is just because I can. I can do it, so why not? Sometimes you don't need a reason. Sometimes just go out and have the adventure and see where it takes you. That's what's happening today. Another dog.
I carried on stepping away and went past this cool-to-scale art installation of the solar system before passing 50,000 steps and stopping for a bit of lunch, which at this point felt well earned. However, despite my progress past the halfway mark, I was experiencing an embarrassing problem downstairs.
When I got up from lunch, I noticed that my legs were chafing and it was quite painful, so I had to go to Boots and buy this like anti-chafing gel. So there was a rather undignified moment in a public loo after that.
But I wasn't going to let a bit of chafe get me down, so I ploughed on through, getting some awesome shots of me pretending the camera isn't there before collapsing in a field.
Over 60,000 steps, nearly 46 kilometres walked, nearly 7,000 calories burnt. Oh, I'm starting to feel this. It's my feet which are really sore. There's no blisters on them, which is weird, but they just hurt to put down. They feel like really sensitive and it's really slowing me down. It's like 3 p.m. now and I'm on 61,000 steps, so the pace has come right off, and at this rate I'd be lucky if I'm finished before 10 p.m. if I finish it all.
As the afternoon dragged on, I started to realise that even 10 PM was optimistic, and even my attempt to film 69,420 steps failed.
I can't believe that. I was being so careful and it jumped up.
It was at the 70,000 step mark I basically shut down the last time I did a walking challenge, and honestly, I felt like I was on the cusp of doing it again.
As I'm struggling, my mind keeps going back to Matthew Pullen.
Let me explain who Matthew Pullen is. Matthew was a teenager finishing his A-levels when I met him in the summer of 2021. At the time, I was travelling around the country, taking on different people in silly challenges, and Matthew reached out to me to take me on in one of those challenges. At the time, Matthew had a terminal diagnosis of cancer, and when I met him the first time, it was days after he'd had the terrible news that the cancer had returned to his spine and that he'd need radiotherapy. However, Matthew didn't respond like you'd imagine a teenager might, because Matthew decided he was going to use his diagnosis to do something unthinkable. He decided he was going to walk 10,000 steps a day for the entire course of his radiotherapy to raise money for charity. To put into context how big a task that was, here's some footage of Matthew doing his steps.
It's takes it out of you, but I'm still walking.
You're still walking.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone who has had such a profound impact on me personally as Matthew did in the short time that I knew him. And for some reason today, when I'm struggling to put one foot in front of the other, I just keep thinking to myself, I want to do this for Matthew. It feels like something I've just got to do now that I've had that thought. Absolutely smashing it.
I think I've got about 2,000 today.
2,000?
Yeah.
Bloody hell. And that's even though you've had a course of radiotherapy today?
Yeah. Just need to stay moving, really.
And with the memory of Matthew spurring me on, I was able to push on through, putting one foot in front of the other, before ending up in the village where I grew up, where my childhood friend Simon came to offer emotional support and supplies.
I got to admit, Simon, I'm already feeling like quite a lot more re-energized, not re-energized, but distracted, and I think that's helping. Like,
I'm glad I can provide a service.
what did you think when I said I was going to try and do 100,000 steps?
You were a little bit mental.
And with a little help from my friend, I soon passed 80,000 steps. I can't overemphasize how important the help of a friend felt in these moments. I was actually really struggling and I really didn't want to ask for help, but when I eventually picked up the phone, I instantly felt better. Simon couldn't suddenly stop my aching, but having someone know I was struggling and support me through it really helped. You can always ask for help.
Back to a solo adventure, and I am now on over 93,000 steps. The other interesting thing is I haven't burnt any calories in the last 2.5 hours according to my Fitbit app, so I have learnt how to be self-sustaining fuel-wise. I have reached pinnacle human existence. It's going to be dark on the way home. I'm about to walk across some fields and no lights the whole way, so apologies in advance.
I continued putting one foot in front of the other, but progress was slow. I was stopping every few hundred meters and I even found a bench to have a lie down on, but the end was in sight and I couldn't help but reflect on how big an achievement this felt for me.
I'll be completely honest with you. I kind of can't believe I've done this. I know I'm not there yet, but I've nearly done it. And I want to go back to that thing I was talking about earlier. The importance of like setting a goal. There is no way if I just went out for a walk, I would have done this. I would have stopped this morning, but it's been an adventure. I've seen how far I can push my body, like how far it's actually possible for me to like carry myself with these legs here, and setting the goal has made that possible. I've pushed way through anywhere I would have done before. Feeling pretty determined to finish this. I'm thinking a lot about Matthew and I'm just ploughing on. Last few steps.
So with sore feet, achy legs and some chafed thighs, I got the last few steps in.
I wish I could say I was putting this on. This is actually my walk now. I don't even have any words for that. I can't believe that's done. We did it. We did it. Why did we do it? Because we can. That's why. Let's go in. Yeah, still can't face apples.